just a refresher of some of the slides from yesterday. You remember that the steps that we go through to get down to your national geodetic datum is that we're choosing a version of ITRF that we're going to align ourselves with, using information from the regional reference frame, and I'll explain that in a bit more detail. Then you have your national, in some cases you have your national GNSS network, and then you have all your extra data, your terrestrial data, your campaign GNSS data, which is not continuously operating, but it's still GNSS data you can use, and the terrestrial data and leveling data, and going through that adjustment process of how you bring all of that together to compute coordinates down to the street corner level where your users interact with it. So let's step through this in a little bit more detail so that you can understand the steps and the software that you use for these components. And the bits that we're going to cover here, you can see I've got down the bottom. So the bits that we're going to be discussing in this section is related to getting your national geodetic datum, choosing your realization of ITRF, interacting with the regional reference frame, and doing GNSS analysis. Now, in some cases, as we heard yesterday, some countries don't have the capacity or the capability to do this part. So this is why SIRGAS is so critical and SIRGAS is so important, is that you can rely on your partners in the region to do these first few steps. If I can get this to work. There we go. Okay, so the first step that you're going to take is you're going to choose a set of points around your country and points from around your region with well-known coordinates in ITRF. Now again, a large part of this is done by SIRGAS. So if you think about a scenario where SIRGAS is analysing all of that GNSS data, it's using information from within the Americas, but it's also using internationally recognised sites from around the world. So when they are doing the GNSS analysis of the data from the Americas, they're including sites from Australia and Europe and the Pacific and Asia. They're using a subset of that international ITRF data set so that when they are computing the coordinates for the SIRGAS marks across the Americas, it's done by being referenced to the international coordinates as well. So that's how you're connecting the regional frame into the international frame. So they're choosing, and they do this by choosing sites that are coming through the IGS. So hands up if you know what the IGS is. And I don't expect you to know, but hands up if you do know. Okay, so we have most, that's good. So for those of you who don't know, the IGS is the International GNSS Service, and it's organised through the International Association of Geodesy, and they're doing all the coordination work to bring these GNSS data sets that are being shared around the world in together and made that available openly to the community. And there's quality checking and the analysis gets done. And this is done by a central bureau that's currently based in NASA in the US. So you'll pick a subset of all those different IGS stations that are available and from around the world, and you bring that together into the GNSS analysis along with all of the sites that you have from your region. Then you're connecting the regional to the global. They also have to bring in some of these products that we were talking about yesterday. You need information about precise satellite orbits. You need information about the clock parameters of the satellites and the receivers. You need all that information in a consistent reference frame. So all of this is being done for you by the IAG services. The Earth orientation parameters are coming from the VLBI, the IVS, International VLBI Service, International Laser Ranging Service, International DORIS Service. All of that is going through to the International Earth Rotation and Reference System Service, and they compute the Earth orientation parameters. that then get picked up along with the clock and satellite information to then run these regional solutions. This is something that very few people understand that whole process of, but it's fundamental to the outputs that you get and the positioning information that you access every day. So those services that are provided by the IAG are critical in all of us getting access to high accuracy position navigation and timing services. Once you have that, the next step is to then process that GNSS data along with the products. So we're using high precision GNSS processing software, Bernice, Gamut, Gypsy, Ginan. There's a whole range of different types as we talked about yesterday. For that processing, we include your national GNSS stations along with the selected ITRF reference stations in a combined solution. What they do is they fix the IGS provided orbits, clocks, and Earth orientation parameters to make sure everything is aligned consistently with ITRF 2020 in this case as the reference frame that has been chosen. We're then constraining or fixing the coordinates of the reference stations to their published ITRF 2020 values. So, as many of you would have done adjustments of some type, you need to fix yourself to something. We can fix all of your national or regional data to those ITRF coordinates, and we weight those very highly in the adjustment. We're saying we trust these values more than we trust our own, and we're going to constrain the ITRF 2020 coordinates, and we're going to link our data into that and allow them to then adjust and compute new coordinates for your sites in your country. This is all done by the software. So through that combined processing and constraint, your GNSS stations will be positioned relative to the fixed reference frame and aligned with ITRF 2020 at some epoch. And your outputs are therefore coming out expressed in ITRF 2020. And there's some notes there that I'll skip over for now. It gives you a bit more detail for later on. I'll work this out by Friday. Where's the best place to click this? All right, then what's the next step? Then we perform a national geodetic adjustment. Now, hands up who's done one of these adjustments before. Who's done an adjustment? Walter and I were talking about this before. Yeah, okay, a few hands. Good. This is taking that next step. This is then bringing in, instead of just looking at your GNSS data sets that you've got from the continuously operating reference stations, how do I bring in my campaign GNSS data? So these are the stations where I may have gone out to a survey mark and observed some Rhinex information for a number of hours, but I don't have a station running on that continuously. Or it might be terrestrial observations. How do I bring all that data in and compute coordinates to get down to the ground marks? So we use the national GNSS network station coordinates as the control or the datum points in this comprehensive national adjustment. We're integrating all our available national geodetic data into a single adjustment, so the GNSS terrestrial leveling data, to establish a consistent and modern geodetic datum that's going to be aligned with ITRF 2020. So this can be done using different types of software. One that I'd recommend you have a look at, which is modern and scalable, is Dynadjust. And I've got some links to this at the end where you can see the user guides. This is open source software that's available. What this does, as I said, is once you fix those ITRF GNSS core stations in your adjustment and then add in your other data, you're propagating those GNSS station coordinates down to local survey marks. So although you may not have regular observations on those survey marks, you can still get ITRF 2020 equivalent coordinates on those survey marks. So here's an example of how the kind of hierarchy, if you've got all of these, let's say the red crosses are national survey marks in your country. The blue ones represent ones where you have a cause station, a national GNSS cause on it, and the yellow one represents one of those cores that you put into ITRF or into IGS or SERGAS. So you're linking your international work with your regional work and then getting that information down to the survey marks on the ground. This is an example of what the Dynadjust process goes through. In the case of Dynadjust, it's scalable, so it can handle big data sets, but it can also handle a small subdivision. You can use small amounts of data. So you'd import all your solution-independent exchange data, your SINEX files, GNSS baselines, terrestrial measurements, leveling data, and then the first thing it does is it aligns all the station measurements to a common epoch. So you might, and that's of your choice, you might choose something like 2020. It then does all the frame or datum transformations. What it's talking about here is you may have data from different times, different data sets that have been collected over the years. And what it does is it performs a transformation of all those, the historical data sets to make sure they're all aligned and in a common reference frame before it does the adjustment. It will apply a plate motion model if there's no direct parameters available. So if you have, let's say you had some data that was recorded in ITRF 2000 and you want to move it into 2020, it'll use the published ITRF plate motion models to transition your data from 2000 into the 2020 epoch. The next thing it does is it uses a geoid model, because the important step with the adjustments is you need to make sure that you're converting your, all the adjustments are done relative to the ellipsoid. So if you have orthometric heights, so if you have heights with respect to a height datum or sea level, you need to convert those into an ellipsoidal based height. So it applies those transformations for you to convert the data. It then does segmentation. So if you have a big network, it'll automatically segment the network, break it up, and then it performs an adjustment and it exports the coordinates with the uncertainties. Here's an example of the continental scale adjustment that we did in Australia a few years ago now. There was over 300,000 stations and over 2.4 million measurements that went into this. And you can see, you can get to a point you can throw every data set that you have into this adjustment. We had geodetic azimuths, which are very old data sets, but we also had things like GNSS baselines that we put in. Ellipsoidal heights, orthometric heights, leveled height differences, slope distances. You can take any type of measurement that you have and make sure that you are using all the data that's available to you to put into one national adjustment. Now, on this scale, it looks massive, but you might have a lot less data, in which case it's a lot simpler, the process. It can handle small and it can handle big. This is just a bit more information about the software. Dynadjust is the software that we use. It's an open source adjustment package. It's got a range of boost libraries connected to it and plotting functions that you can use. It takes advantage of things like the generic mapping tools, GMT, and it's open and available on GitHub. So this has been released as an open source piece of software from the Australian government. And it was heavily developed by a very kind and lovely gentleman, Roger Fraser, who still works for the Victorian government in Australia. It's actually been so successful that it's now being used as the back end in the land parcel registry work within Esri software. Esri were having trouble being able to run enough. They didn't have software that was able to keep up with the scale that was required to do all of the adjustments that were done in the background. So they engaged the assistance of Roger and started to use Dynadjust in the back end of Esri software because it's open source. All right, there's just some links there on resources that allow you to go through this in more detail. And in particular, for those of you who haven't done any of that adjustment work before, there's some really good YouTube presentations that you can watch there talking about least squares adjustment, uncertainty propagation, how to weight your data, because these are the really critical and important steps when you're doing an adjustment. You can't just throw all of your data in without looking at it. You really need to understand the quality of the data. Which data do I want to hold fixed? Which data do I want to weight highly? What data do I trust or not trust? And in essence, that means you'll have to change the uncertainties of the data that you're putting into the adjustment. If you weight the data correctly and have the uncertainties set up correctly, then the adjustment will run very well. So what I found very useful is to go through and look at these presentations to help understand these steps and processes in a bit more detail. So I'd recommend looking at those, and if you need further help, then come back to us and we can help you out.
Bornese software and Dynadjust, what's the difference?
A great question, great question. So and this comes up a lot, so thank you for bringing it up. The Bernice component and the Gamut software, that kind of software, that's how you run all your different GNSS analysis, and you do that together. And that will compute, so you're putting in GNSS baseline information or ITRF information into that. That is computing, that is running the process of bringing in the satellite orbit parameters, bringing in the Earth orientation parameters, and the output of that is a SINEX file, a solution independent exchange file that has coordinates, it has a station ID, a coordinate, sometimes an uncertainty associated with that coordinate. That is the file that then gets input into Dynadjust. So the Bernice step happens first. You get an output from Bernice of processing all your GNSS data. You then use that as an input into your geodetic adjustment software, which is Dynadjust. Does that make sense? Thank you for asking, because it's a very common question.
No, thank you for that question as well, because many people think, oh, the GNSS processing is already in ITRF, and therefore I'll just do the processing and then I've got everything in my new national datum. But you haven't, because when you want to bring in your existing legacy control and all of those other parameters that Nick mentioned there before, that's what Dynadjust will do. So it's that two-step process if you want to bring and tie it in with non-GNSS observations as well.
Yeah, Ryan was just saying, I think it would be great if we can show this in some sort of diagram with examples of the type of software,